Hello, welcome to Hollenbeck Unleashed in association with Dukascopy TV. Today's topic will be the ECB's decision last week to extend quantitative easing. The ECB finally pulled the QE trigger and will be purchasing 60 billion euros per month until September 2016 or until inflation ticks up to 2%. The made-up excuse for this legal counterfeiting is that Europe is dangerously close of having an imperfect measure of inflation, which is a CPI, drop below zero, as though calamity would hit Europe if this man-made number somehow became negative. The ECB claims that it needs to print money because lower oil prices and previously a strong euro was causing inflation to deviate from its 2% target. It's like having your supermarket run a 50% off on steak weekend and having the ECB come in and basically cause all other prices to go up, so that when you end up at the cash register, you find that your bill is more expensive. The 2% inflation was never meant to be a target, but a ceiling. We've never had a problem of too little printing, but of too much printing. There is really no theoretical or empirical justification to fear deflation. However, inflation has regularly led to social upheaval. The drop in oil prices is causing a change in relative prices, which is part and parcel of a capitalist economy. It is these changes in relative prices that basically guide production to where society wants it the most. When the central bank comes in and interferes with both absolute and relative prices to reach some type of imaginary target, it basically interferes with the most important aspect of capitalism, which is the allocation of resources to where society wants it the most. We must always remember that money is a measure of exchange value, and that it needs to be relatively stable for relative prices to work correctly. When we have a policy of constantly changing the unit of account, this can only create uncertainty and chaos. The reality is that deflation is being used as an excuse to bail out spendthrift governments and to save the ECB from the executioner's acts. It does recognize that if current conditions continue, a breakup of the euro is almost a foregone conclusion. What exactly is the purpose of this quantitative easing? Is it to increase consumption and investment spending by reducing interest rates? Probably not, since interest rates are already at zero. Is it to create galloping inflation so that we have a reduction in a worker's real income, as under the idea of the Phillips curve? Probably not, if the ECB still holds to its primary mandate of primary inflation mandate. Is it to reduce the value of the euro? Okay, that's possible, but then again, we supposedly have an unwritten rule that you shouldn't gear monetary policy to basically depreciate your currency. Also, such gains are likely to be small and short-term. Exporters today import many of their inputs, and labor unions are keenly aware of the impact of a depreciation on their real incomes. Also, such a policy would actually beget retaliation. The only possible reason left is some type of wealth effect. In other words, the central bank is basically making rich bankers richer at the expense of the poor and the middle class, so that somehow these bankers' extravagant lifestyle will trickle down benefits to the general economy. Is that really serious monetary policy? Targeting the CPI, or even nominal GDP, is misleading. Economists today base their policy advice on two fundamentally flawed concepts: the equation of exchange and the Cambridge equation. In reality, they should have been looking at a tautology, which is the original quantity theory of money. In this theory, money is related to all prices: stocks, bonds, haircuts, paintings, hamburgers, etc. Classical economists define inflation as an increase in the money supply. Had they related inflation to an increase in prices, it would have been on all prices. However, we can't calculate an index of all prices since the weights are immeasurable. By focusing on the CPI, or even nominal GDP, economists have been focused on what they perceive to be a healthy set of trees while the forest has been burning around them. Back in the 1920s, between 2001 and 2007, and even today, a tame CPI is blinding central bankers from the distortive effects on all other prices. The distortions have been massive and the adjustment has been horrendous. Suppose that you had someone who constantly screwed up in his job. Wouldn't you fire him? Would you wait until they screw up, risk bankruptcy? It is time that we talked about a new Bretton Woods, a new monetary order, but this time one without a central bank. Thank you for watching Hollenbeck Unleashed in association with Dukascopy TV. We'll have another episode for you next week.